Good morning, everybody. Um, I need to finish chapter 6. I don't know where it cut off yesterday, so I want to just read the last part of chapter 6. If it was on the other one, just ignore this one. So, if you remember, or if you're even watching, chapter 6 was about tick, tick, tick. Look at my hair. Just kind of did look at that right there. Whoop, whoop. Where is it? Whoop, whoop. Sadie says good morning. She's already ready to go swimming, but she can't until 9 o'clock. All right. So we're going to just read the last part and then where the person blows out the candle. At the beat of his heart, a further pulse, loud and relentless. Make it stop, he pleaded to the still night. Please make it stop. His vision began to blur and darken around the edges. The room receded into blackness, leaving only the notebook in light and focus, a dark blood stain blooming on the cover, growing from his cut hand. He could hear his heartbeat now above everything else, like a mighty drum, could feel the shudder of it rattling through him, as if his heart was striking hard against the inside of his rib cage with each fierce beat, barging at it as if eager for release. He shook his trembled he shook and he trembled and he rocked. Please make it stop. As if in an answer to his plea, all the noise ceased. The ticking and the dripping and the gasping sobs and the heartbeat too. The notebook dropped from his hand, but Professor Seabright was not living to hear it hit the floor. Sounded like he had a heart attack. Professor Clearly smiles broadly, leans back in her chair. It seems to Jack that she looks rather pleased with herself. And looking at the others, it seems as if she has good reason to be. The previous stories were greeted with appreciation, certainly, but this one seems to have a deeper effect on its audience. Some look rather shaken by it, eyes fixed, tight faced, tense, which Jack assumes is the desired response. Only Mr. Osterley seems unmoved, retaining his same detached calm. Amelia, the young girl by Jack's side, is fidgeting more than ever, though. She looks agitated. Are you okay? Jack asks. She glares back at him. Of course. Yes, fine. But she turns her head quickly away again, as Jack does likewise. He doesn't understand. It didn't seem such a very scary story to him, at least no more so than the others. Has he missed something? Because everyone seems to be dumbstruck. Well done, madam, says Mr. Fowler at last. We seem to be lost for words, so I suppose your words must have struck home. Good, says the professor. I am so glad you enjoyed it. Oh, he didn't say he enjoyed it, says Katie Mulligan, the young woman with the severe looking haircut. I'm not sure any of us enjoyed it, Miriam. She fixes a hard look on Professor Clearly. But I suppose it worked. She gives a small nod. Professor Clearly grins smugly back at her. Yes, it served its purpose rather well, I think, she says. Got to the heart of the matter, as it were. Heart, get it, is tick, tick, tick. Katie Mulligan scolds at her and seems about to say more, but Mr. Osterley, the guy at the head of the table, quietly cuts in. Quiet, he says, and though his expression seems unchanged and his tone of voice is soft and even, there is somehow a firm authority to that one word, and both the professor and Miss Mulligan fall silent. Thank you, Professor. A small turn of the wrist and a lazy wave of the hand invite the professor to extinguish her candle. The professor accepts, blows out the flame with an exaggerated pout, and slides her chair back without a word. Very good, says Mr. Osterley. Perhaps it is time to hear from one of our younger guests now. Jack's chest tightens. Remember, Jack was supposed to come up with some kind of story, but he didn't have one. But Mr. Osterley, with a typical slight gesture, is indicating to the boy to Jack's left. Tall, stooping Lee. Remember, always hunched down, I should say, who nods and mumbles in reply. Oh, yeah, Kay. He raises a skinny arm to rest a hand on the back of his neck, as if not yet bowed low enough, and he might be about to tug it down another few inches. His other hand ruffles through his hair for a moment. Yeah, well, it's odd. It's an odd story, but well, you might not think it's very anyway. And then he coughs, and then he says, again, and then he begins. End of chapter 6.